Let's jump right into this explainer. You know, when we look at history, it's absolutely fascinating how a single word can connect entirely different worlds. Today, we're unpacking the incredible, sprawling story of a single name, Portsmouth. So tell me, which Portsmouth comes to mind when you hear the name? Do you immediately picture the ancient maritime powerhouse over in the UK? Or maybe the colonial river settlement in New England? Or wait, maybe your mind goes straight to Ohio, a complex city marked by both ancient indigenous earthworks and a tragic modern epidemic. The reality is, all three of these places hold incredibly rich, deep histories that completely shape our understanding of the human experience. Today, we're going on a cross-continental journey. We'll be covering 1. The three Portsmouths. 2. The UK's maritime marvel. 3. New Hampshire's 400 years. 4. Ohio's ancient earthworks. 5. Ohio's opioid crisis. And finally, 6. One shared name. Section 1. The three Portsmouths, a geographic contrast. Because, location is literally everything. For these three cities, water is the great connector, but they utilize it in totally different ways. The UK's original Portsmouth is this exclusive, densely packed island city. It's actually the only island city in the entire UK, sitting right on Portsea Island, cut off from the mainland by a narrow creek. On the flip side, its American namesakes spread out and really thrived as sprawling river settlements. New Hampshire's Portsmouth is deeply tied to the Piscataqua River, while Ohio's Portsmouth grew up right at the flood-prone confluence of the Scioto and Ohio rivers. Section 2, UK's maritime marvel, England's only island city. Okay, there is a sheer, unbelievable concentration of history packed onto this one island. For starters, hidden deep beneath Southwick House is the top-secret map room where Allied leaders literally plotted out the World War II D-Day landings. Then, flip the script, and it's also the 1812 birthplace of the legendary Victorian author Charles Dickens. Oh, and we absolutely can't forget Jonas Hanway. This guy introduced the very first umbrella to England in the 1750s, which is wild because cab drivers were so terrified of losing their rainy day business that they actually pelted him with rubbish. And, to top it off, there are the Pompey chimes. Sailors coming home would hear the Guildhall clock ringing, and that exact tune later became an iconic, echoing stadium chant for the local football club. Now, let's talk about the number 1495. This is a massive piece of maritime history. 1495 is the exact year King Henry VII built the Tudor-era dry dock. And get this, it still stands today as the world's oldest dry dock in continuous use. I mean, think about that. Over 500 years of servicing ships. It's like a living aquatic time capsule. Jumping from those ancient wooden docks straight into the modern skyline, we hit the number 170. That's 170 meters, which is the height of the impressive Spinnaker Tower dominating the city today. It actually boasts Europe's largest glass floor, suspended 100 meters up in the air. Oh, and it sways in high winds, giving you a literal bird's-eye view of this incredibly packed island. Section 3. New Hampshire's 400 years, the historic river settlement. So crossing the Atlantic, we arrive at our second Portsmouth. This is your quintessential New England settlement, and it is celebrating a massive 400-year milestone. For 4 straight centuries, the history here has been defined right from the very beginning by the flow and commerce of the Piscataqua River. This waterway has completely shaped its economy, its local culture, and its physical footprint. It's a perfect example of how early American colonies leaned entirely on their river valley geographies just to survive and grow. Section 4. Ohio's ancient earthworks. Deep time at the confluence. Now, let's move out to Ohio. We find a location whose human history actually predates both the UK and New Hampshire settlements by thousands of years. Long before any European settlers arrived, this river valley was home to thriving, incredibly sophisticated societies. Starting around 1000 BCE, the Adena culture emerged in the Ohio Valley, followed by the prospering Hopewell culture around 200 BCE. They built magnificent earthen mounds, rock cairns, and these perfectly parallel embankments right around the confluence of the Scioto and Ohio rivers. These were communities that deeply valued stability, hard work, and family life, right there in the ancient hardwood forests. Over time, it's tragic, but much of that physical evidence was destroyed by amateur digging and modern construction. However, check this out. Today, over 10,000 ancient artifacts are on display at the Southern Ohio Museum. They were meticulously gathered by a local family, William and Charles Wirtz. Charles actually started this collection purely out of scientific interest way back in the early 20th century, and he passed that legacy down. They basically preserved a monumental piece of the human history that might have otherwise been lost forever. Now, while it's fantastic that these artifacts survived, a lot of the context was permanently erased. As researcher Emily Aldrich points out, the artifacts could have been cached below ground level, near the surface, or found on the surface. Unfortunately, this is information we will never know. But here is the saving grace. The site-specific provenance of this collection was saved by an incredibly detailed catalog created in the mid-1940s by a trained archaeologist named Aurelia Huxell. Because of her meticulous records, we can actually connect these artifacts back to specific mounds, proving this whole area was the hub of a massive, sophisticated civilization with a continental trade network. Section 5. Ohio's Opioid Crisis, a complex, modern reality. Okay, let's pivot and look at this city's more recent, sobering history. As chronicled in Sam Quinones' amazing investigative book Dreamland, Portsmouth, Ohio tragically found itself caught right at the absolute epicenter of the American opioid epidemic. To really understand how this happened, you have to look at this tiny 101-word letter published in the New England Journal of Medicine back in 1980. The authors basically stated that out of nearly 12,000 patients, there were only 4 documented cases of addiction. Their conclusion? Addiction is rare in medical patients. But here's the tragedy. They meant in a highly supervised hospital setting. That short letter was entirely misinterpreted. It spread like wildfire, used like a giant game of telephone to justify a total, revolutionary fervor for treating chronic pain with take-home prescription opioids. Locally, in Portsmouth, this crisis really took root through figures like Dr. David Proctor. Back in the late 80s, he seemed like just a normal, everyday doctor looking for better options for his pain patients. But over the span of a decade, you see this gradual ethical corruption. He began extorting his addicted patients and operating illicit, wildly profitable pain clinics. He eventually became known as the godfather of the pill mill. He would hire locum tenens, basically substitute doctors, to run his clinics. And many of those doctors learned the trade and went out to start their own pill mills. And what's really chilling is the astonishing similarity in the business strategies used here. On one side, you have legal big pharma with drugs like OxyContin, and on the other, illicit drug cartels like the Jalisco Boys slinging black tar heroin. Both basically solved an essential problem for their customer. Pharma solved the doctor's problem of chronic pain patients taking up too much time, while the cartels solved the addict's daily problem of finding dope conveniently. Their marketing? Incredibly aggressive. Pharma promised it was the one to start with and to stay with, while dealers literally handed out free initial doses outside jails saying, "Call back if you like it." And the branding was just as deliberate. Medically packaged, clearly identifiable pills versus standardized tenth of a gram doses wrapped in small branded balloons. When the prescription pills got too expensive, it was an incredibly seamless, natural progression for patients to just transition straight to the heroin the cartels were practically delivering to their doorsteps. The tragic result of all these intersecting forces was an epidemic of catastrophic proportions. By 2014, we were looking at 30,000 opioid overdose deaths nationwide. To put that into perspective, in 16 states, overdoses were actually outnumbering car accident fatalities. It's just staggering. This devastating reality eventually forced the modern medical community to completely reassess their entire approach to pain management, finally waking up to the incredible harm caused by overprescribing. Section 6. One shared name. The spectrum of human experience. So let's wrap all this up and bring these completely disparate facts together under the banner of a single word. From ancient indigenous art meticulously preserved in Ohio, to Tudor maritime marvels and secret World War II bunkers in the UK, all the way to 400 years of colonial river commerce in New Hampshire, and the sobering realities of a modern medical crisis, it leaves us with a big question. Is a city's true identity shaped by its name, or is it defined by the complex, beautifully messy layers of its people, its triumphs, and its struggles across time? The next time you're looking at a map and you spot a familiar name, I really want you to ask yourself, what ancient secrets, what forgotten inventors, or what incredibly complex modern realities are hiding just beneath the surface of that hometown?